Okay, people, we are live. I'm trying something different this week. I'm uh, I'm not going to use my microphone because a bunch of people have told me that that microphone doesn't sound that great, and actually the sound with the MacBook sounds better. So I'm just going to do that, and I'm going to buy like a lapel microphone to do my videos going forward. That's my plan. I'm also dressed up because I just did TV. As I think you guys know, I do every Friday. I do a show called Battleground that SC Cup hosts. It's on Fox affiliates all over the country. So I do that, and that's why I'm dressed up. Does that make sense to people? Can everyone hear me? Tell me if you can't hear me, or is me if you can't. Let's see. Let's see. Okay, you can hear me. Okay. All right. So I'm dressed up because I did TV, but also because I am teaching my first class at Georgetown later this afternoon, actually right after this live stream. So I'm excited for that. I think I'm going to post the syllabus on my Substack just so people can see. It's not like super detailed, but so people can kind of see what it is. So I'm going to do that too. You know, I got to look. Do I look professorial? I don't have patches in my elbows, but oh, that elbow is looking a little thin. All right. As always, if and when you have questions, throw them in the chat. I will answer them. A couple things off the top. First of all, thank you for helping me build this YouTube channel. I'm actually going to bring on someone to sort of help me grow it. So maybe you'll see a few cool changes here and there. I just was told that you actually can become a paid member of YouTube. So if there are people who are interested in that, I may make some videos just for paid members sometimes. If that's something that interests people, just let me know. Again, I'm sort of new to all this. You can donate, as Shroyd has done. Thank you, Shroyd. Thank you for the donation, just to support what I'm doing and what we're building. And you can also check out my mostly written content over at my Substack, which is chriscillizza.substack.com, or just go to Chris, Cillizza, and Substack in Google, and you'll find it. Okay. All right. So let's get to questions. Got my trusty Waterloo, not sponsored. Shroyd, again, thank you for the donation. Very much appreciated. As always, what I say about donations in this format or any other, very much appreciated. Not necessary, but very appreciated. Okay. Luke Groth, if Dems get a trifecta, so I think you mean control the White House, the Senate, and the House, do you think they'd abolish the filibuster without Manchin and Sinema? And what would they do with that majority other than the usual stuff like restoring Roe v. Wade? Really good question. I really wanted Dana Bash to ask Kamala Harris that on Thursday night during the interview. I thought that would be like really interesting. Would you support abolishing the legislative filibuster? Because it has so many impacts. She didn't ask that. I would love to know what Harris said. So if you're a reporter out there who has access to Harris, please ask it. Let me say this. I don't know the answer in terms of legislatively what they would do. But I do think you're right on Roe v. Wade. I don't think it's going to happen because I wrote this week on my Substack. The chances of Republicans winning the Senate majority are pretty high. I would say 7 in 10-ish. The map is just terrible for Democrats. It has been for a really long time, but is bad for Democrats. So I don't see full control, even if Harris wins and they win the majority in the House. I think the Senate is going to be a problem. All right, Sam. Hi, Chris. Greetings from Pizza Ranch. So lovely. That place is delicious. In honor of your first day teaching at Georgetown, did you have any teachers that inspired you or helped you on your path? Great question. I had weirdly a second grade teacher that I loved and sort of inspired me about school. Halfway through the year, I never realized this at the time, but she got really bad morning sickness and she was gone for the whole rest of the year. So I only had her for a few months, but I do think back on her as a really influential teacher. Then there was a woman in sixth grade. Her name was Sarah Kania. I think I'm saying that right. And she ran this like gifted and talented program. And, I got to be a part of it, doing something called Future Problem Solvers of America. It's a real thing. It's cool. They like give you a problem. You have like hours to figure it out, like what you should do about it. And then you come back and you present. And we actually won our state in Connecticut and went to nationals. It was the first time I had ever been on a plane, I think, when I was This is when I was older, when I was like 18. And I flew to Florida, which was really cool. So those two, I think. Brandon Fleming, thank you for the donation. You're the best, Chris. Sure, thank you. Trump said 6-week abortion ban was too short and said free IVF for all. Could this actually buy Trump some votes, or could it backfire with the evangelical part of his base? Okay, so let me take the first part of that question first. I do not see the evangelical part of his base walking away from him. They haven't yet. Why would they now, right? I don't see it. I know, like, Eric Erickson, a sort of prominent social conservative, is saying, like, this Thursday cost Donald Trump the presidency. Just, they've been with him this long. They're probably going to continue to be with him. Do I think Trump is trying to mitigate the damage politically done by the overruling of Roe v. Wade by the Supreme Court that he put 3 of the justices on? Yes. Do I think it will work? Probably not. I think what he has to have happen is he can't lose women by 20 points to Kamala Harris nationally and win the election. So I think he's trying to narrow that defeat. Does it work? Again, I think Democrats have a really good sort of hammer on this. They can say, like, sure about IVF and sure about you think 6 weeks is too short, but you're the guy who put the 3 justices on the court who overturned Roe v. Wade, and say you're really proud that happened. So I think it's really, really tough. Graham, Chris, do you think Trump believes there are truly no independent voters and that he just needs to appeal to his base to win? No, I don't believe that. I think he and his people understand there are a small number of people who are still undecided. And those people, I always hate to generalize, but I would say most of those people don't like Trump personally, but prefer Republican solutions, policy solutions on immigration and the economy to Democratic solutions. So, like, that's why they're divided. And that's why I always say that Trump is the weakest Republican that the party could nominate. Because if you had nominated a sort of down the line Republican, like, okay, Ron DeSantis, excuse me, sorry, I'm drinking too much carbonated water. I think that he would be ahead right now, because I think on the issues, people want to vote Republican. The issue is it's Trump. So no, I think Trump knows he has a very close handle on his base. I think his strategists at least know that's not enough. And they're trying to do things like the IVF announcement, like opposing the 6-week abortion ban, that maybe could help around the edges and get him a little more vote. John Lofel Holes, I hope I said that right. Thank you for the donation. Very kind of you. John asks, may I ask the brand of your eyeglasses? Yes, these are Zenni. Literally $7 for the frames. Zenni, ZENNI.com. It's a British, it's a online ordering company. I also have a bunch of Warby Parkers, but I wear these mostly. To be honest, I'm going to get new glasses because I complain about this in the videos, but as you can tell, these are sort of bent and it annoys the crap out of me. So I'm going to get new ones, but Zenni, I love them. And again, thank you for your donations. Not necessary, but much appreciated. And again, as just a special incentive, if you do donate, you get your question read. To that end, Dave Collier, thank you for the donation. Arizona question. Why do you think there's such a large gap between the polling between Harris and Trump compared to Gallego and Lake? Yeah, it's actually true in Nevada too. So I think the answer to that, Arizona is a little bit unique. So let me do Arizona. I think the answer to that is at the presidential race, it's very polarized. People are, you're in your tribe. At the Senate level, I think it's a little different. Because I don't think people know, particularly Ruben Gallego, the Democratic nominee as well. They do know Carrie Lake. But I don't totally get it, because it's true in Nevada, Jackie Rosen is ahead by way more in the Senate race than Harris or Trump is in the presidential. True in Wisconsin, Tammy Baldwin is way ahead. A little less true, but still true in Michigan. So I don't totally get that. That's actually really good fodder for a post, I think, or a video where I try and figure that out. I haven't dug deep into it, but I think that's a worthy question. I'd assume it's because Harris and Trump are totally known, and a lot of these other Senate nominees are not. But I don't know, to be totally candid. Okay. Let's see. Scrolling through. Patrick Murray, how do you answer the why restrict good gun owners argument when debating gun control? Good question. So my basic, I think the argument that people would make is, look, we can make common sense changes that a majority of the public, a large majority of the public supports. Banning bump stocks, some stuff around assault weapons, AR-15s. We don't have to do mandatory gun buybacks, all that stuff. The issue is it's become so politicized, right, that as soon as you do anything, the gun lobby will be like, see, they're about to come to your door and take your gun, which no one really is proposing. No serious politician is proposing. So that's the problem. It's too political. But I do think there are things, if you look at polling, there's a large number, 5 or 6, which I can't, of course, remember off the top of my head, things that people say, yes, I support this, Republicans and Democrats. Let's see. Noah Ule. Am I saying that right, Noah? If I'm not, I'm sorry. Again, Crystaliza, I get it. A lot of bad pronunciations. Thank you for your donation. Hey, Chris, do you know if pollsters have done any concrete changes to avoid 2020 polling errors? If not, isn't this very concerning for Harris? So, great question. I think one of the things you need to keep in mind is at this point in 2020, Joe Biden was ahead of Donald Trump by more nationally than Kamala Harris is. At this point in 2016, Hillary Clinton was ahead of Donald Trump by more than Kamala Harris is. So the question is, does that mean that Trump is overperforming national polls and always will? And there's nothing pollsters can do to sort of factor that in? Or have they made changes? Yes, they absolutely looked at 2020 and 2016 and have made changes in line with that. Are they enough? I don't know, because Trump actually said this recently. He said, I always poll a little bit low. I don't know if that's because people are afraid to tell pollsters they are voting for me. I actually think there is some of that to it. I think there's some truth there. So I don't know how the polling industry can fix that. You know what I mean? How do you reassure people that it's okay to tell a pollster that you're going to be for Donald Trump? I don't know. It's a really good question. But I always do keep that in mind. Donald Trump is now in the best position in terms of national polling that he's been in as compared to 2020 or 2016. Okay, let's keep going. Kaylee Niski. Kaylee, thank you for your donation. Mayor Pete moved to Michigan shortly after the 2020 election. Do you think he should try to run for Michigan governor since Whitmer is term limited? I don't. My thinking is that Buttigieg, if Harris wins, has a spot somewhere at a little bit higher profile place in her cabinet. That would be kind of a leaping off point. I don't know if he runs for another office statewide. He certainly would have a better chance of winning statewide in Michigan than he did in his native state of Indiana. He's just not going to win as a Democrat statewide. They're so hard. So I don't know, but my guess is it's an administration gig for him, at least in the near future. Of course, if she loses, then he's got to figure out what he does for the next few years. Richard Rice, thank you for the donation. No question. Golly, that's unselfish. Let's see. Let's get to more. Kornheiser 10. Shouldn't your show be named So What We Even Doing Here, Man? Or does Arakpa own the copyright to that? Yeah, that's a good idea. I like that. If you are not a Tony Kornheiser Show podcast listener, you need to be. I'll be on next Wednesday, post-Labor Day. Dr. Alves first. Chris, what do you think about Trump overperforming polling in both 2016 and 2020, and how might that affect 2024? So I sort of did address that, but I think that is critically important. I think you absolutely have to keep that in mind. Donald Trump, in both 2016 and 2020, overperformed the last predictions, the last national poll averages. In 2020, he overperformed it by about 4 points. Polling said Biden would win by 8. Biden wind up winning the popular vote by 4. In 2016, he overperformed it by 2 points. Polling said that Hillary would win the national popular vote by 4. She won it by 2. So just, again, keep that in mind. Let's see. Baltimore Dave says, I'm looking dapper. Oh, yeah. Ernesto says, looking dapper. That's right. I actually got this tie. I don't know if you can see this. This tie, that's a war pig. That's from Men in Blazers. I got it as a special. If you don't check out the Men in Blazers show or podcast, you have to, because they're the best. It's about soccer. Look at that. So he says Men in Blazers by General Knott and Co. I got this years ago. I love those guys. Good people. Evil Genius says, we can hear you, but the stream started mid-sentence. You know what? I kind of noticed that. It said you're live, and I started talking, and then all of a sudden it was like slow. So sorry about that. If you missed something or you only caught something halfway, tell me, and I'll go back and do it. Brendan is back with another donation. Brendan, you rock. Thank you. He says, me again. Trump reposting the post about Kamala and Hillary. Yes. Offended a lot of women. Could his continued misogyny cost him the suburban women that got him in the White House in 2016? Yes. Yeah, he needs those people. I'm not going to repeat what Trump suggested or said or reposted in that Truth Social post about Hillary and Kamala, but it's not great. And if you're a woman, I mean, Trump has made his views on women pretty clear, right? Like, I mean, I don't think we should be surprised at sort of what he posted. Do I think there's a cumulative effect over time? Sure. Do I think any one thing sort of tips that scale? Probably not. But yeah, I mean, it is not smart for J.D. Vance to sort of denigrate women and for Donald Trump to post what he posted about a sexual act related to Hillary Clinton and Kamala Harris. I don't know how many people like in the real world, like not people like me who monitor this stuff all the time, but I don't know how many people in the real world actually pay attention to that stuff or hear about it. But to the extent they do, it's amazingly dumb. Graham says that flavor of Waterloo that you're drinking is a great flavor. Yes, this is black cherry. I also have peach, and I got summer berry, which isn't an actual berry, in my outdoor fridge. Michael Bort says, good idea about the mic, Chris. Yeah, so somebody who does a lot of YouTube stuff came to me and was like, your mic actually doesn't sound that great. And I always tell people, look, I got that from CNN years ago, so like I didn't invest in it. So I'm going to buy a better mic. DigiMic or Hollyland Lark mics are the ones I've gotten recommendations on that will be better sound-wise, so I'm going to try that. It probably won't be tomorrow, but it'll be soon. Ahmed Hindawi, thank you for the donation, and not even a question. Again, donations. Oh, always appreciated. Let's see. Les Wolf says, like the tie. Yeah, again, this is my War Pig tie. Anubov C. If Harris wins the election, do you think Biden might consider pardoning Hunter and Trump? What are your thoughts on whether he should? I don't. I don't think he's going to pardon Trump, and I don't think he's going to pardon Hunter. Hunter would definitely be the more likely person that he would pardon. I don't think he's pardoning Donald Trump, but I don't think he'll do either. Again, this is about legacy building for Biden, and I don't think he wants pardoning the former president. And I don't think he wants to. I mean, I think he probably would like to pardon his son, but I don't think he wants to pardon his son in terms of his legacy. So I don't think on either. Dr. Banana says, woohoo on the teaching jobs. Yeah, so for people who don't read my Substack, I've written about this, or who missed the beginning of this, I got a job teaching a campaign journal. I mean, it's a part-time gig. I'm an adjunct professor, but I got a gig teaching a campaign journalism course at Georgetown this fall, which is where I went to school. First class is today. I put together a syllabus, tried to do like a week 1 to week 14. It's 14 weeks. Rundown of what it is. I'm excited. I taught at Syracuse University last fall. This is sort of my second experience doing it. So I feel a little bit better, a little bit more comfortable. But I'm going to share my experiences doing it. I like doing it, particularly with my alma mater. And I feel like this is, if you're ever going to teach campaign journalism, now's the time to do it. So anyway, yeah. R. Alejandro, which Republican could you see Harris bringing to her cabinet into what position? So, I mean, the obvious choices are Adam Kinzinger, Mitt Romney, Liz Cheney. Those are or maybe like a Jeff Flake, the former Arizona senator. You know, Kinzinger could run Veterans Affairs. He obviously is a military vet. I don't think she's going to put Liz Cheney in as the Secretary of Defense, for example. That's a huge job. But I could see that. Romney, you know, he could be Secretary of State. Sort of as a career capper, I think he would do it. So those are the kind of people. I mean, I don't think she's going to put Jim Jordan in her cabinet, right? Like when she says a Republican, I think she means sort of a non-Trump Republican. I don't know if it's a never Trump Republican, but definitely a non-Trump Republican. Pocket Watch says, I need patches. I know that would really, in a pipe, that would really add to my professorial vibes. ACAR 1994. How likely is a Republican presidency, a Republican Senate, and a Democratic House for the 2024 election? I think that's more likely than a Democratic presidency, a Democratic Senate, and a Democratic House for sure. I absolutely could see that. Again, I think the Senate is the surest thing out of any of these because I think Republicans are going to win because they've already basically won the West Virginia seat. I think Montana is really hard for Democrats. I think Ohio is pretty challenging for Democrats. And there are no Republican seats that are really in danger. I guess Texas a little, I guess maybe Florida, but probably not. So I think the Senate there is good for Republicans. You know, White House, 50-50, honestly. Maybe 50.1% for Harris. But Mark Parkinson, thank you for the donation. Again, people love it. How will the annual need for a continuing resolution in lieu of an actual budget on October 1st and the ongoing GOP case in the House have an impact on the presidential race? We shall see. I think that generally people don't pay that much attention to budget stuff. I think the general sense in Washington is that Democrats are in charge, even though Republicans control the House. Democrats control the Senate and the White House. I think when people think of it, they think of the White House and they know Democrats control it. So I don't know that even if it goes badly with House Republicans, that will hurt all that much. I think it'd actually be less of a factor than you might think. The thing I'm really intrigued with from a policy perspective is the Trump tax cut is set to expire in 2025. Who gets elected president and who controls the House and Senate is going to make a huge difference in terms of the prognosis for that. Ernest Leotel says, send the cash. Yes, send that cash. Or tell me if you would be interested in being a paid subscriber. I think it's like $5 a month or something to this YouTube, where I could make some private videos, answer a few questions, maybe something specific that you're interested in. And again, as always, the option is my Substack. Would love to have you there. It's $6 a month. It's $60 for the year. You get a ton of content out of it. I would urge people, if you have questions, ask questions. I know it's a getaway day. I know it's Labor Day weekend, so I may not go as long as normal, but this is your chance because there are less people on this channel, although the 333, which is pretty awesome. Okay, let's see. Fran G. Hi, Fran. Thank you for the donation. Do you think there will be an October surprise this election? So for people who are unfamiliar, October surprise is the sort of catch-all term given to something that happens in the presidential race, usually in October, although broadly in the fall is fine, that upends the race. The example often given is the DWI that got revealed that George W. Bush had when he was young, 30s, in Maine, right before the 2004 election. Golly, what could it be given what we've been through already? I don't really know. I mean, look, it's called an October surprise for a reason because it's surprising. So if I knew if it was coming, it would be less surprising. So I don't know is the short answer. I mean, I would say given the way this election has played out, I would not be surprised by literally anything. And Fran, again, thank you so much for the donation. H, I like that. Very simple. H says, can Harris win without Pennsylvania? I don't think so. So yeah, I mean, yes. Could I produce a map that gets her to 270 without Pennsylvania? Sure. But I don't think that I could do it and make it convincing to you if you were not already thinking she's going to win. I just think that's the state she has to have. In the same way, I would say the same thing about North Carolina and to a little lesser extent, Georgia for Trump. It's just hard not to have that state for the Harris coalition to add up to 270. Same thing because if she loses Pennsylvania, it'd be a little weird to me that she would win North Carolina. I guess it's possible, but it seems unlikely. So those three states, 19 electoral votes for in Pennsylvania, 16 each in Georgia and North Carolina, are the three biggest swing state electoral in terms of electoral votes that they have. So yeah, I would say Pennsylvania she's got to have, and North Carolina, maybe Georgia, Trump's got to have. Yeah. Okay, let's keep going. Avery Neal says, Chris Loza, why the suit? You're dressed as the defendant. Okay, so I explained this right at the top. The reason I am dressed up, and it's not a suit, I have jeans on and sneakers. The reason I'm dressed up is because right before this, I do Essie Pups, my friend, former CNN friend. I mean, she's still my friend, but I used to work with her at CNN. I do a show that she has called Battleground, which is syndicated on local Fox affiliates all around the country. So I do that show. It runs later today. So I tape it. So yeah, I try to look presentable. And also, sorry, nose itch, I am teaching a class later today at Georgetown. So I'm going to do that. So I wanted to look, good. And I have a TV hit at 7:00 tonight. So I figured just take a shower, put the tie on, go from there. All right. Willie Dumas or Dumas. How would Harris handle a conservative government in Canada? Good question. I don't know the answer to that. I mean, look, I would say generally, Harris is going to be more open to our traditional relationships with allies, including Canada, regardless of whether it's a liberal or conservative government up there, than Donald Trump would be, right? Donald Trump is very transactional. Donald Trump wants to sort of reimagine the post-World War II alliances that were put in place, whether it's Europe or North America. So I would say she probably isn't a big change, regardless of who's in power. Trump might be, I mean, he might be, whether there's a liberal government in Canada or a conservative government in Canada. And thank you, by the way, Willie, for the donation. Always appreciate it. Shroyd, you're back. $5. Thank you for the donation, right? About my YouTube, paid YouTube. Would be interested in some type of paid YouTube membership with perks, extra videos or something. Yeah, okay, good. That's good to know. What other perks could we do? Like, let me know. I honestly don't know. Phil Reinhardt, in your Georgetown class, are you at some point going to talk about the new media, Substack, YouTube strategy for budding journalists? I am. I don't have a class specifically dedicated to it because it's campaign journalism. So I'm doing like polling. I'm doing campaign finance. I'm doing a debate one because the debate falls right in the classes. So like, I don't have one dedicated to it, but yeah, I'm going to do some certainly on the business of journalism, which is something I never really learned about, even when I was in journalism, sort of like the problems and pressures on mainstream media, the opportunities for independent solo content creators, because I think that's where the growth is, not just because I'm doing it, but because I think that's where the growth is. So yes, I will do some of it. Let's see. Andy Smith, do you see a repeat on January 6th if Trump loses? I don't know if I see a repeat of January 6th. I definitely see a repeat of the 2020 election because I think Trump is not going to suddenly admit he lost, right? He's already laid the groundwork to say, basically, the only way that I can lose in 2024 is if it's rigged. Right. So no, he's not going to all of a sudden like have a realization like, oh, I actually lost this election. Will it lead to January 6th? I think everyone will be more on their guard than they were last time around. So I think it's less likely. Do I think Trump would foment protests? Yeah, absolutely. Dave Collier. Hello, Dave. Thank you for the donation. In the UK election, many of middle of the road Tory voters stayed home, giving Labour its huge majority. Could the same happen in the US? I mean, always a possibility, right? I did notice that about the UK elections. I try to pay more attention to the UK elections these days. It could happen. I think it's not likely to happen because I think the conservative base is going to come out for Trump. Whatever you think of Trump, those people are for him. They love him. They will walk over nails to vote for him. So I don't think that's going to happen. The biggest problem pre-Harris was Republican-based enthusiasm was up here and Democratic-based enthusiasm was down here. Now it's kind of like Republican enthusiasm stayed high, but Democratic enthusiasm is even higher. So, does that motivate even more Democratic-based voters to come out? I don't know, but I think it's unlikely we see a repeat, but I think it's a good question. Sage Sigmund, thank you so much for the donation. That is really, really kind and very much appreciated. Has Harris peaked, as some recent polling has shown her in a rough shape in Pennsylvania, for instance, or can she maintain momentum, expand the map? Also, I'm so glad you were doing this. CNN lost someone amazing when you left. Oh my gosh, that is so nice. And I didn't really leave. They kind of escorted me out the door. But yes, I appreciate your spin on that. The question of like, has Harris hit as high as she is going to go? I think probably now we're kind of where we're going to be, which is, I would say Harris ahead by 2 to 4 points nationally and 4-ish of the swing states basically tied and the other ones within 1 or 2 or 3 points, depending on the poll you look at. And I know there's some morning consult data out today that has her up 8 in Wisconsin. That seems way high to me. I mean, hold on, let me just look at this real quick. Like the last time that either candidate won Wisconsin by 8 points in the presidential race is a long time ago. I'm not going to be able to pull that up right now, but let me look at Wisconsin. Okay. In 2020, Biden won Wisconsin by 20,700 votes. In 2016, Trump won Wisconsin by 23,000 votes. So by the way, this book, invaluable, The Almanac of American Politics. And also, if a textbook for my class is going to be this, I'm going to have kids read from this. If you don't know this book, buy it. It's long. It's worth it. Does it seem likely to me that a race that was decided by 20,000 votes in 2020 and 23,000 votes in 2016 is an 8-point lead for Harris? It seems unlikely to me. So I would say, I don't know if she is peaked, but I think the race is starting to settle, and basically it's a toss-up. Harris has a slight lead nationally. She's going to need a lead in the national popular vote in order to win. Let's see. DB, thank you for the donation. What country will Trump flee to after he loses? He says Venezuela, but someone else I listened to said the UAE. Your thoughts? He's not going to flee if he loses. He is going to run again if he loses. I'm convinced of it. Donald Trump will continue to be the lead in the Republican Party unless and until he passes away. I'm totally convinced of it. Let's see. ACAR 1994. Thank you for the donation. Hold on. I keep clicking weird stuff. Here's their question. How likely is an R presidency, R Senate, and D House? Plus, I believe ticket splitting will be huge in 2024. I'm voting R for president and D down ballot. I think R presidency, R Senate, and D House, particularly R Senate and D House, seem more likely than not to me. Presidency is basically a toss-up. I don't know about ticket splitting, just because I feel like we're so parliamentary, we're so polarized that people just vote party now. I forget what the number is, but in like the last 6 Senate elections, like classes of Senate, so 2018, 2020, 2022, there's only been one senator that's of a party that the presidential nominee didn't win, of their party didn't win the state. That's Susan Collins in Maine. She's a Republican. Biden won Maine. But other than that, it really doesn't happen. So I don't know about party splitting as much anymore. Let's see. Okay, sorry, I'm scrolling through. Okay, here's Noel Fredrickson. There's a paradigm shift where, Noel, thank you for the donation. Very much appreciated. There's a paradigm shift where Democrats are taking back the bumper sticker phrases, freedom, security, democracy from Republicans. Any thoughts? Yeah, don't underestimate the power of sort of that like bumper sticker messaging. Make America great again fits a bumper sticker and people like it. Bringing back joy or hope or hope and change, right? That stuff matters. It's a way to consolidate sort of the broad ideas of a campaign into a little thing. And yeah, I think Harris has done a way better job of that than Biden. Let's see. Trying to read people who either donated to me or who have not asked questions yet. Or I haven't read. T. Klingard. As a European, I must admit I'm stunned and worried. How is Trump even still so high in polls? One thing is character, another criminal record, but the autocrat tendencies. Yeah, look, I think Trump has a hardcore base who are with him and believe that everyone's out to get him and them, and they're going to be for him no matter what. Then I think there's another group of people who don't like Trump personally, but like his policies, particularly on the economy, and say like, look, what's important to me is I want to make more money and keep more of my money, and Trump's going to do that, and Harris isn't. So that's why I think he's close. I think people just don't prioritize some of the things you talked about, right? They just capital D democracy, they do not think is at risk, and therefore they're not worried about Trump in that regard. Let's see. Who has not asked a question yet? I'm sorry. I'm scrolling back up and through. Want to make sure I didn't miss anyone. As always, if you have questions, ask them. Rob Williams says, it's still a mystery to me that this continues to be a nail biter. How did we end up here? We're just very polarized. We live in 2 different Americas with a different set of cultural values, or at least a different understanding of cultural values, and we don't talk to each other. So it just winds up being, it literally is like we're siloed in two countries. So people who are in one country cannot understand the other country, and people who are in that other country cannot understand this country. It's just, it's remarkable. Yeah. Let's see. Sorry, scrolling. Brett Green, Chris, do you think Democrats can ever win Florida again, or is it lost? No. Again, I talk about this a lot, but like it's a pendulum. Like politics is a pendulum in states and nationally. So Florida was a swing state. It's no longer a swing state. I think it's a Republican-leaning state. I think it'll stay like that for a while. But no, demographic changes and party changes. Nothing is permanent in politics. That's what makes it interesting. But I will say, like, I don't think the presidential candidates are going to spend a dime in Florida. Donald Trump's going to win Florida this time around. I'd be really surprised if not. KR, what are your thoughts on the Electoral College? It's the system we have, and it's really hard to change it because it's in the Constitution. Could we change it? Maybe, but I think it's a little bit of a pipe dream. James Dorn said Zenny is awesome. Yeah, they are. Yeah. CW says less sponsored junk or stuff that's off topic. I don't know what that means. You mean like for paid subscribers, I would do less junk? Does that imply I'm doing junk now? Craig Williamson. Hi, Chris. Greetings from Ireland. Been watching your takes on U.S. political discourse. What's your take on where a potential Harris administration will take the U.S.-European Union relationship? So I think it would be largely similar to where we are now, honestly, with Biden. I think it would be, I mean, she said this last night, her foreign policy, in her interview, her foreign policy vision is very similar, I think, to Biden's, which is basically the same foreign policy vision we've had in terms of our alliances since World War II. Trump is the one that I think would take it in a very different direction. Harris, to me, would be a little bit more of the same. Let's see. Continuing to read. Baltimore Dave, question, any prediction on the also Brooks versus Hogan Senate race in Maryland? So I wrote about my Senate races. I did a Senate race ranking of the top 10 races most likely to flip, and Maryland was number 10. I don't think it's going to happen, and here's why. Joe Biden won Maryland by 33 points in 2020. Kamala Harris will win it by a similar margin, I assume, this November. Larry Hogan is the best candidate Republicans could find, no question. But it's really hard to overperform the top of the ticket by 33 points. It's the same reason why Democrats have no chance in West Virginia. It's really hard for John Tester in Montana. It's hard, but not as hard for Sherrod Brown in Ohio. Like, it's just hard in a presidential year to overcome the top of the ticket. So I think also Brooks wins that. And by the way, I think she's a totally capable and good candidate. It's just Republicans found their best candidate, but it's a bad year. Let's see. Carrie Murdoch, when are you going to start filling in for Brooks and Capehart on PBS? As soon as they ask me. Love PBS NewsHour. Jeffrey Last, I'm waiting until after the election to have that one-on-one talk with you. I'm afraid that I will get frustrated talking about the election, figuring you can spend time telling stories to Tony. Yes, by the way, I should have noted this at the top. If you become a paid subscriber to my newsletter, $6 a month, $60 a year, you get a one-on-one Zoom with me. We can talk about whatever you want. So yeah, that's one great incentive. Wasted Willie, I wish PBS and CBC did more collabs. I do a bunch of Canadian broadcasting. I wish they did more collabs too. Let's see. Austin Kruger, Chris, would you say that you are a little bit more uncomfortable with the lack of primary for Democrats? I'm okay with Kamala, but can't ignore that she was essentially appointed. Yeah, I mean, look, it was clear, at least to me, and I think to many other people, that Joe Biden was going to struggle to serve another 4 years. The Democratic Party refused to acknowledge that broadly, although people like Dean Phillips did. And they cleared the primary out for him because that's what party establishments do. They get behind incumbents. So as a result, we got what we got, which is Kamala Harris didn't get any votes in the primary. She got 3,000 plus delegate votes, but she was unopposed to be the Democratic nominee. It's not a great capital D democracy experiment. Say what you will about Donald Trump. He went through the primary process and he won overwhelmingly. He is who Republicans want to be their nominee. We know that, right? That was democracy in action, whether you like it or not. That's not the same with Harris. So yeah, I don't love it. Let's see. Sorry, my glasses. Carrie Murdoch, who do you think have been the most effective cabinet members of the Biden administration? Buttigieg, in terms of a surrogate, certainly. Gina Raimondo, the former Rhode Island governor, who's the Secretary of Commerce. Those are the two that jump out to me. I'm trying to think who else. Don't love Lloyd Austin. I think Blinken it's just a hard job. Secretary of State's such a hard job. So I guess those are the two that would jump out. DB, thank you for the donation. So if Trump is facing prison after he loses the election, you think he will stay in the U.S. and face the music? He's not going to face prison. I just don't see it happening. We're not going to imprison a former president of the United States. I just don't. I don't know. I just don't think it's going to happen. Paul Sau, Hey, Chris, subscriber and Substacker here. Hey, Paul, thank you for both of those things. What are your thoughts on Tim Walz and ambition? He gives us the aw shucks attitude, but his rise has been really fast. Look, Tim Walz went out of his way to get booked on cable TV and do the weird thing because he wanted to be VP. You don't just happen to be VP. You don't just happen to be governor. You don't just happen to run for Congress, right? Like he could have stayed a school teacher's wife. He wanted to be in the public eye more. One of his appealing traits to Harris, apparently, according to their conversations, was that he told her he did not want to be president, that being VP was sort of his career capper. I call questionable because he might think that, but you get to be VP and then you think like, I'm the front runner to be the president of the United States. I think it's hard to say no. Yeah, I think he is ambitious. And this idea that he would never run for president, I don't buy it. Let's see. John C. just joined. Can you break down House and Senate maps and chances? Like your old top 10 Senate seats to flip. Curious what your view of the current breakdown of the landscape of House Senate. Okay, go to my Substack. I wrote about it this week. I ranked the 10 seats most likely to change in the Senate. Have not done the House yet, but go there. Look, it's not complicated, right? West Virginia, as I said earlier in this chat, West Virginia's gone. By the way, we just went over 400 concurrents. Amazing. West Virginia's gone. That's a Republican pickup. I think Montana is getting there, though not gone yet. I think Ohio is tough. I think Michigan is a real race. I think Arizona, I'd favor the Democrat a little bit there. I think same thing in Nevada. I think Tammy Baldwin's going to win in Wisconsin, and I don't think Democrats are going to win any Republican seats, including Florida and Texas. That's my quick summary, but go to my Substack, chrislizza.substack.com. You can see the whole thing. Let's see. Wilner Olivier, RIP Johnny and Matthew Gaudreau. Tragic for the families in the hockey world. Yes, I read about this morning. This is a guy and his brother. The one guy is in the NHL. His brother is a hockey player. They were biking along the road at 8:30 last night and were hit by someone who is suspected of being under the influence of alcohol, and they were both killed. Awful, awful, awful. Bears love birds. How do I schedule my one-on-one as a subscriber? Do me a favor. Email me, CILLIZZAC@gmail.com. I'll make sure you're a subscriber. I'll send you the link. Okay. Brian Nguyen. Brian, thank you for the donation. Hey, Chris, what needs to happen to restore the public's faith in the media and squash the idea of fake news? Well, there's no one thing, Brian. If there was, we would have done it. I think from the media end, we need to be as transparent as possible about why we think what we think, why we write what we write, and why we say what we say. How did we get to these conclusions? I think when we get something wrong, we have to be very open about why we got it wrong. How did we get here? Because I think in the absence of that, people assume bad motives. And I think most of the time, 99.9% of the time, there aren't bad motives. It's a person trying to get it right and they get it wrong. That's a piece of it. The other piece is, how do you kind of restore trust when there are financial incentives to have people not trust the media, right? Fox News is built, or even though it's a media company, is built around the idea that the media, even though Fox News is a part of it, is scheming against you. They don't like you. So Fox makes a ton of money by doing that. Are they going to walk away from that? Are all these people who have glommed onto the fake news thing going to walk away from that because they make money off of it? I don't know, and that's really hard. Acar1994, thank you for the donation. And as always, if you donate, you get your question asked. Will Clarence Thomas retire if Trump wins? Also, do you see Lisa Murkowski become an independent if Trump or Kamala wins? I don't know. Clarence Thomas is my favorite game. How old is Clarence Thomas? I should know this. I'm going to say he's 82. Clarence Thomas age. 76. That's a big miss by me. Do I think he retires? Maybe. Conservatives are much more strategic about this than Democrats are. But I don't know. Well, I mean, it's an individual decision. It's so hard to know. Is Clarence Thomas potentially sick of all the negative press he's getting and all the attention he's getting? Probably. So I could see him walking away if Trump wins. As for Lisa Murkowski, she's a Republican. Her dad was a Republican for many years. He was a governor and a senator. I don't think she would walk away from that, though. If Trump wins again, it's possible. If the Senate is like 50-50 and she could tilt it one way or the other, there certainly would be a push on from Democrats to get her to be an independent or a Democrat. So I don't know. Her and Susan Collins are the ones I sort of keep an eye on, though Murkowski is, I think, more gettable. Karen Dalton Koch, any word on which Trump campaign official did the pushing in Arlington? No, not yet. And remember, Trump campaign said they were going to release the video showing that they didn't do anything wrong. Still waiting on that. Still waiting on that video. Let's see. Avery Neal said, I heard the Arlington employee was a woman. It figures. So I've read that too. I've seen that person referred to as a she, but I haven't heard anything else. Michael Bortz, thank you for the donation. And no question. It's so nice of you. Let's see. Sorry, I missed you earlier. H says full-time professor in the future. No, I don't think I'll ever be a full-time professor. I really like doing it, but I don't think it's the only thing I would do. Matt Aarons, thank you for the donation. Always very appreciated. Hey, Chris, most of Dana Bash's questions to Kamala Harris last night were just getting her take on Trump's attacks on her. What are the most important questions that were not asked last night? So I'm looking at my other monitor because I wrote a piece yesterday in Substack, yesterday morning, saying 6 questions I would like to see asked of Harris. And I tried to be thoughtful about this, not just like throwaway questions. Hold on, I'm calling it up now. All right, so here are my questions. And Dana did kind of ask a couple of these. Oh, hold on. That's my voice playing on this video. Sorry. My first one was, you took a number of positions in your 2020 presidential campaign that you have recently said you no longer support. What changed? Can you explain your thinking and evolution on the issues? He kind of asked that. Where do you specifically disagree with the policy proposal or position backed by the Biden administration? Harris mostly hewed to supporting Biden. You repeatedly said over Biden's time in office that suggestions that he was slowing down mentally and physically were off base, but we saw signs of that deterioration. Did you ever see anything during your time with Biden that made you wonder if he was slipping? If so, why didn't you speak out? She said she never saw it. Here's 3 that I would have really liked to be asked that weren't asked. You said you were the last person in the room with Biden when he made the decision to pull American troops out of Afghanistan. What was your advice to him? Did you agree with the final decision? Why did the policy not work as the administration intended? That's 1. 2, you recently came out in support of not taxing tips that workers earn. That's a proposal Trump previously made. Did his position on it influence you? If not, what's the genesis of your support for the idea? And the last one, looking back in your 2020 presidential campaign, what went wrong? What lessons have you taken from it? I would have loved those 3 to be asked, but they weren't asked. Anyway, I hope that sums it up. And again, check out my Substack. And Matt, thank you for the donation. Jeff Limp says, I was an adjunct professor at the University of Illinois for a number of years, teaching change management to grad students. Loved it, enjoy. So I'm undergrad. I'm teaching undergrads. I'm feeling better this year, more confident about what I'm teaching and how I'm going to do it. So I think I'm going to be able to enjoy it a little bit more. Last year when I did it at Syracuse, I was just nervous about doing it. I'd never done it before. So I'm feeling a little bit better. John Suda, how about Nikki Haley as Secretary of State? I think that's unlikely. Certainly if Kamala Harris wins. Andrew Dunn says both lights are on. Yes, both of my lights are on, and if you can see it, there's my old typewriter. Pretty cool, right? Lions 1956. Who are you voting for? Why did Walz put tampons in the boys' bathroom? Okay, I'm not going to tell you who I'm voting for. I haven't made up my mind yet, and I don't think I'm going to publicly do that anyway. I haven't decided. Did Walz put tampons in the boys' room? I think Walz signed a bill that allowed for tampons to be put potentially in boys' bathrooms for biological girls who use the boys' bathroom. But I'm sure there is someone on here that knows more about that. So let me know. Miss Lee 86. Thanks for all your hard work, Chris. You rock and we love your channel. Thank you. Spread the word. That's all I ask of you. Let's see. Lions 1956. Sorry, I missed another donation here. Appreciate you. Who runs in 2028? Answer for both outcomes for 2024. If Kamala Harris wins, Kamala Harris runs in 2028. If Kamala Harris, for Democrats, if Kamala Harris loses, I could see Tim Walz, Gavin Newsom, Gretchen Whitmer, Josh Shapiro, Pete Buttigieg. I think all those people, Wes Moore, I think all those people would run. If Trump wins in 2024, JD Vance is very likely to be the nominee in 2028. If Trump loses in 2024, I would say Donald Trump, unless he's dead. Tom Cotton, Josh Hawley, Sarah Huckabee Sanders, Doug Burgum, potentially, though that didn't work out all that well this time around. Rubio, maybe Don Jr. Yeah. Let's see. Keeping going. Scrolling. Brian Lowry. I see a lot of ads saying this is one of the last major fundraising deadlines before the election. What are the actual campaign finance reporting milestones to come, and do they matter? Not really. So it's every quarter. So it's January 1 to March 31, and then April 1 to June 30, and then July 1 to August 30 or 31, whatever it is, and then September to November. They don't, in the presidential race, they don't really matter. These candidates are going to raise a vast sum of money. They're both going to have plenty, right? I just remember Hillary outspent Trump in 2016 and lost. So anyway, let's see. Wilmer Olivier says the Bush 43 DUI occurred in 1976 and reemerged in the final days of the 2000 campaign. I said 2004. My mistake. And Phil Reinhardt, I know you had that too. So sorry. Yes, 2000 campaign. And it happened in Maine, I think, in Kennebunk in 1976. Kornheiser 10, how much of a nerd do you have to be to take a class on a Friday afternoon? With all due respect, of course. I know it's like in the afternoon on Friday. I know I'm a little worried about people paying attention. Yeah. Let's see. Link Lions 1956, bro, didn't read my super chats. I want my money back. I did read them. I'm sorry. I wasn't getting notified of them. So sorry about that, but I did read them. Let's see. Continuing to go. Baltimore Dave, question, have you appeared on Bill Maher's show? You'd be great on it. People tell me that, but Bill Maher hasn't asked me. Yes, I would love to do it, but they haven't asked me. Nethra Sprint, hi Chris, I think the general opinion on Harris' interview was lukewarm. What is your honest opinion? Did she manage to pull through? Yeah, my view was meh. I mean, it was fine. She wasn't terrible. I didn't think she would be terrible. She wasn't great. I thought her answers on, I made a video about it, by the way. If you haven't checked it out, go to my channel, subscribe to my YouTube channel, and check it out. I thought her answers on her flip-flops were not great. I thought her answer on race and Trump's attacks on it was really good. I'm trying to think if there's anything else I really liked. No, not really. I mean, it was okay. It was not a lot of interview spread over an hour. It reminded me of when I was in college and they'd be like, a 20-page paper, and I'd like make the margins really narrow and make the font really big. Like there wasn't that much. I think it was probably like 20-something-ish minutes of total actual interview that they spread over an hour, which, you know what? Any network would have done that. I'm not saying CNN did anything wrong, but like there wasn't all that much interview there. Will Christie says, Chris needs a well-trimmed beard. He looks too scrubbed like a baby. Interestingly enough, I did have a beard. Let me see if I can find it. I grew a beard during the 2016 Democratic primary and said I wouldn't shave it until we got a win, until we found out who won. Hold on, I'm looking to see if I can find when I had a beard. Oh God, I just got a picture of Ted Cruz. Not sure why Chris Cillizza beard produces Ted Cruz, but draw your own conclusions. Shoot, are there not any pictures online of me with a beard? I just got a picture of Donald Trump Jr. Well, I did grow one in 2016 and my wife didn't like it. So no, that's not going to happen. Let's see. WAPO, this is Paul Sal. WAPO at one, oh dear, sorry, just minimize my window. WAPO at one point suggested an Apple-style presentation for the State of the Union. What are your thoughts on this and any other ways to update DC traditions to meet citizens where they are? Yeah, I like that. I mean, so there's part of me that says I kind of like the State of the Union. They're all together. It feels formal. It's, you know, it's an old-timey thing that they've always done. But yeah, I think we could update it a little bit. I think we could update how we cover debates. I certainly think that we can update the way we cover campaigns. People are consuming things on social and video. Text, not so much. So why don't we lean into that? Robert New York said, Chris, where is Biden? I assume at the White House? I don't totally know. I know what you're getting at, but Matt Aaron says, Harris cleared the bar in her interview. She needs to do more to get more comfortable or just not do them. Maybe doing some friendly interviews on progressive podcasts might be good. Yeah, she was okay. One thing that somebody pointed out to me that I didn't even think of, two things. One, the lighting was not great, which was strange. And two, why was Walls like sitting up here and Harris sitting down here? That looked weird. Just get them chairs that were they're roughly equal. Ex-PFC Winter Green V2O. Did Chris shaving the beard send us into the dark timeline? I don't know. I never thought of that. Thomas Keene. Chris, do you have an angry tie and a happy tie to wear to class? I had a professor that used to do that with his sweater vest so we knew whether we could have fun or not. I hadn't thought of that. It's very intriguing. Jurgen Vogel. How can you be so critical about Harris's performance when every Trump interview is a train wreck? Because just because Donald Trump is a bad interviewer doesn't mean that Kamala Harris has to be a good interviewer. It's not a zero-sum game. Like, I'm assessing it based on a politician doing a good job in an interview, not Donald Trump doing a good job in an interview. I never understand why people think that way. Keshav Hajarnavis. I don't know if I said that right. Sorry, man. Hi, Chris. Have you ever thought of converting these live streams into podcasts? Would love to listen to your candid punditry at the gym. Yeah, I don't totally know how to do that, but I guess I could certainly think about it. Let's see. Would you ever want to make an appearance on Club Shay Shay with Shannon Sharp to discuss the political environment in the country prior to the election? Shannon does follow politics. Yes, but I don't know Shannon Sharp. I am open to talking to almost anyone. I mean, I'm not going to talk to someone who's like a white nationalist, but I'm open to talking to almost anyone. I want to get the word out about what I'm doing here and what I'm doing on Substack and sort of my life as an independent creator. So yeah, the issue for me is I don't know all these people that well. I know mostly people in mainstream media. So yeah, if you've got ideas or ways to get in touch with them, please tell me. Let's see. Walter Keene says, David Brooks wrote that Kamala Harris could not retain staff. That was an issue, particularly in the presidential race. Staffers were not happy with how that went. And a lot of the blame fell on her sister, Maya Harris. Again, don't totally know, but that is absolutely a thing. KR says, what will you be teaching? So I mentioned this earlier, but I'll mention it again. Campaign journalism at Georgetown to undergrads. That's my plan. Bob Lob, so good. What about Don Jr. in 2028? Absolutely. Yeah, I could see that. Mike Snyder. Hey, Chris, will Harris and Trump shake hands in the debate, or will there be a question of what candidate likes about one another like there was Clinton and Trump? I hope not. I mean, I don't care whether they shake hands or not. My guess is they won't because they hate each other. Question about what they like. I hate that question. It's just a waste of a question. No one cares. No one cares what you like about the other person. I like when they say, like, I like that she likes her family. I mean, it's just so dumb. It's just such a waste. KM, is Travis Kelce a good number one in a fantasy draft? I don't see another tight end bringing nearly as many points. So Mahomes obviously has a lot more targets than he has had in recent years, which I think could hurt Kelce a little bit. And I think Kelce, as he gets older, saves himself more for the playoffs and shows up in spots. So I'm a little skeptical of Kelce as a number one tight end, but I get your logic. They throw a lot and they score a lot. Let's see. R says, I love Chris on CNN, but the fact he's educated and knowledgeable yet still undecided is lunacy does not make sense. I mean, okay. Robert New York says a double Windsor knot would look nicer. I know this is a single. My problem is this tie isn't long enough to do a double Windsor. It winds up, it doesn't work, but yeah, I take your point. Let's see. Anybody else? Let's see. We'll do. I think that's about it. Crispy Smooth. If Trump loses his election, will he run again in 2028? Yes. Barring health concerns, he will run again in 2028. I would be stunned if he didn't. I think that's it. Okay. So let me do my wrap up so that we stay within an hour. As always, thank you for checking out this live stream. It will live on my site. So if you missed it live, you can watch it. I try to do it every Friday, schedule permitting. I try to do it every Friday at 1 p.m. Eastern time. I really need you to support me. So thank you for everyone who made a donation today. If you haven't and you want to, please do. It means a ton to me. Every little bit helps, to be totally honest. I need you to subscribe to this channel because the way YouTube works is the way that you monetize it is with more subscribers. Views are great, but subscribers are critically important. So I need you to subscribe. I need you to always like my videos. I need you to comment on my videos. That helps with the algorithm, getting more people exposed to what I'm doing. And I need you to tell people. I need you to tell friends, tell acquaintances, tell colleagues, tell enemies about what I'm doing here. I'm making a video every single day of the week, except Friday when I do this live stream from now to the election, and probably beyond that too, if I'm being honest. So I need your help. I really do, to keep doing what I'm doing. I'm really enjoying it. I'm glad it's found an audience out there, but let's grow that audience. And as always, if you haven't checked out my Substack, that's where I'm doing most of my written work and analysis. I'm writing every single day, multiple times a day. A lot of it, 70% of it's probably 70-ish% free. chrissaliza.substack.com. Go over there and check it out. If you want to become a paid subscriber, there's lots of perks for that. It's $6 a month or $60 a year. One of the perks is you get a one-on-one Zoom with me for 30 minutes, which is kind of cool. All right, I'm almost up against it. I'm not going to take the full hour. I got 10 seconds left. Thank you. Have a safe and fun and happy and healthy Labor Day weekend. I'll see you next week.